Why we think Donald Trump is a Russian asset since 1987. The top 15 reasons are starting with number 15. Undermining NATO. Trump labeled NATO as obsolete and threatened to withdraw, potentially weakening Western unity. Number 14. Withholding military aid to Ukraine. He delayed $400 million in congressionally approved assistance to pressure Ukraine into investigating Hunter Biden. Number 13. Siding with Putin over US intelligence. At the Helsinki summit, Trump dismissed evidence of Russian election interference aligning with the Kremlin. Number 12. Leaking classified intelligence to Russia. He disclosed top-secret Israeli intelligence during an Oval Office meeting with Russian officials. Number 11. Denying Russian election interference. Despite overwhelming evidence, Trump called interference a hoax, siding with Putin. Number 10. Hiring Paul Manafort. His campaign manager had deep financial ties to pro-Kremlin Ukrainian politicians and shared internal polling data with a Russian operative. Number 9. Softening the GOP stance on Ukraine. In 2016, Trump's team weakened support for arming Ukraine against Russia. Number 8. Encouraging Russian election interference. He publicly invited Russia to hack Hillary Clinton's emails. Hours later, Russian hackers did. Number 7. Hosting a Trump Tower meeting with Russians. His campaign sought damaging information on Clinton from Kremlin-linked operatives. Number 6. Owner of the 2013 Miss Universe pageant in Moscow, Trump courted Russian oligarchs and praised Putin during the event. Number 5. Traveling to Moscow in 1987 on a Soviet-arranged trip, the KGB saw him as a potential asset. Upon returning, he began advocating pro-Russia policies. Number 4. Pardoning individuals tied to Russia. Investigations. Trump pardoned Michael Flynn and Roger Stone, both of whom had connections to Russian contacts. Number 3. Telling Ukraine to abandon NATO hopes. His stance echoed Russian demands, discouraging Ukraine's aspirations to join NATO. Number 2. Pressuring Europe to take over Ukraine's defense. This approach weakened U.S. leadership and benefited Russia's strategic interests. Number 1. Ambushing Volodymyr Zelensky in the White House. During a recent meeting, Trump publicly berated the Ukrainian president on worldwide television, echoing Kremlin propaganda points. Number 0, because there just had to be. No U.S. president should ever cozy up to Russia. As a Cold War adversary, Russia has undermining democracy. Every American leader understood the threat, until Trump, which brings us to one final thought. Back in 1987, the Cold War was still in full swing. If you want a little nostalgia, now would be a great time to rewatch From Russia with Love, where a dashing Sean Connery finds himself in a Moscow hotel room with a Russian female agent. What he doesn't know is that he's being recorded through a two-way mirror, classic KGB tactics. Now picture a young Donald Trump back in 1987, enjoying the VIP treatment on his Soviet-arranged visit to Moscow. Do you think he knew how those hotel suites worked? Do I think Russia has compromising material on him? Nothing is for certain, but the facts say otherwise. When have you known as U.S. president hit all the talking points of Russian propaganda, saying that Volodymyr Zelensky started the war when the whole world knows it was Russia? And just in case there was any doubt, February 28, 2025, 2:30 p.m., Volodymyr Zelensky arrived at the White House prepared to sign a deal for mineral rights. Simple, right? Of course not. Because when Trump is involved, nothing is simple. Zelensky was ready to sign until Vice President J.D. Vance, America's most insufferable bootlicker, barked like a dog. You know, Volodymyr, I don't think you've even thanked Donald Trump or the American people once, Vance sneered, as if Ukraine hadn't been fighting for its survival with U.S. support. Zelensky, likely holding back a sigh, pressed on. But Trump, never one to miss an opportunity to act like a two-bit mob boss, made his own demands. Either you take the deal or we're out, treating international diplomacy like a bad episode of The Apprentice. Zelensky refused to be bullied. He's made it clear time and time again he will not be talked down to or treated as anything less than an equal. He stood his ground. Trump, in a fit of rage, kicked the president of Ukraine out of the White House. The deal collapsed. No agreement, no handshake. Just another humiliating spectacle that left the world wondering, again, whose side Trump is really on. These are the kinds of questions that keep people awake at night. In the aftermath, global leaders have rallied behind Ukraine and Zelensky. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, for instance, warmly welcomed Zelensky in London, announcing a £2.26 billion loan to support Ukraine's military. Please like and subscribe.